Good day and welcome to Conversations with AARP and the Virgin Islands. I'm Troy Deshabir Schuster, State Director of AARP, and it's a pleasure to be with you once again to bring you important information regarding scams and frauds that could potentially affect you here in the Virgin Islands and abroad. Also, I'd like to wish you, on behalf of AARP and my team at AARP in the Virgin Islands, the beginnings of a very happy holiday season. Thanksgiving is right around the corner and Christmas shortly thereafter. We hope everybody has a safe and enjoyable season this year. After almost 2 years marked by the COVID-19 pandemic, the holiday season is finally upon us again. It's a big time for shopping, whether it be in your favorite shop or online. But unfortunately, the holidays are also a time when scammers seek to line their pockets with our hard-earned money. And during the holidays, con artists will revolve around shopping. In today's conversation, you will hear from experts from the Virgin Islands Licensing and Consumer Affairs Department on holiday scams and how to help protect yourself and your family during this season, including while shopping online. By the end of today's discussion, you should know more about how to help protect yourself from holiday scams and fraud, and we will share resources on where you can get more information and assistance if you need it. Today, we are joined by the Commissioner of the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs, Attorney Richard Evangelista, and Mr. Matthew Paget. Welcome.
Good day, Mr. Schuster. Thank you very much for having the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs once again bring to the viewing audience tips. Today, we're going to speak about how to ensure that you are not scammed while you do holiday shopping. And today with me, I have Mr. Matthew Paget, who is the Director of Consumer Protection here at the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs. And together, we will educate your customers and we will also give some tips to the actual retailers. So let me know what you want us to do first, and we're here to serve.
Yes, well, Matthew, let us hear from you. First of all, what do you do at the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs? This is your first time being on our show, and our first time meeting you. Thank you for joining us. So tell us what you do.
It is. Thank you, Troy, for having me. I look forward to this opportunity to serve the community of the Virgin Islands in my current role as the Director of Consumer Affairs, Consumer Protection. Most of my career has been spent in law enforcement in the mainland, and my wife and our two children decided we wanted to head for sunnier skies, and we ended up in the Virgin Islands. So that's a little bit about me, and today I just hope to get all the questions answered about how consumers can help protect themselves during this time of increased online shopping.
Great. Thank you for being with us today. And so the Federal Trade Commission recently reported that scams are increasingly on the rise, and holidays are a prime time for scammers to take advantage of holiday shoppers. What or why do many more scams happen during the holidays versus other times of the year?
Yeah, no, it's an important question, and I think one thing to recognize is just the influx in online shopping. Scammers, like most criminals, are opportunistic. The more people that they have out there shopping and looking for those hard to find gifts or last minute deals, the more opportunity they have to inject themselves into that person's life.
And are we seeing a rise in these kinds of scams in the Virgin Islands already? Has that been experienced? Have you been hearing reports at the department?
We haven't seen many reports. As you know, we're right in the middle of this recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, which has complicated everything from getting milk on time to communicating with loved ones and sending packages through USPS. So really the issues we're seeing right now are more related to supply chain issues, not so much scammers.
However, because we know it's the holiday season and people traditionally shop online, one of the things as the Commissioner of Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs that I'm pushing heavily on this holiday season is to promote buying locally. If you buy locally, support your local businesses. One, 9 times out of 10, you either personally know the entrepreneur or someone knows the entrepreneur. So if you have an issue with an item, you can speak directly with the owner. And two, you're actually tendering payment to someone for whom, if law enforcement is necessary to return or refund the transaction, and or you can come locally and complain here at the DLCA. So I know we're all tempted to get online, Black Friday, go online, Cyber Monday, go online, and Monday after Thanksgiving. But for this season, let's go ahead and support our local vendors, even the professionals. Purchase a gift certificate from a masseuse, purchase a gift certificate from a restaurant, from a budding artist at one of the crafts displays that may be set up. Quite frankly, this is a time COVID-19 is still here. So business has been poor, to say the least, for many businesses. Let's support our own, buy locally, and after all, you're going to be assisting the local businesses who are licensed with the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs. But Mr. Paget is actually going to go over a number of tips to ensure that those of you who shop online can be wary and be aware that there are scammers. You may not see them, and those are the worst. So, Mr. Paget, if you don't mind, if you can share with the community things that they should watch out for.
Please. Oh, wait, he's muted. Oh,
Yeah, I think. Thank you, Commissioner, and that's true. We need to support our local vendors, our local farmers, our local artists. If you go down and you can actually see the person that produced the goods that you're purchasing, what more of a guarantee can you have than that? And I think for the other stuff, when we do go online, be skeptical. Everybody has that little voice in their head that says, maybe something's not right with this. Listen to that voice. Research vendors, check to make sure that they have a secure website, that they if they have reviews, that they have positive consumer experiences listed. Check the Better Business Bureau. Those are some of the things that you can do to protect yourself from falling victim to a scammer. Along with, if you do decide to shop online, pay with a credit card. There's more protections than if you use a direct debit card. Be cautious of what information online merchants are asking for. Beyond the shipping address and your payment information, they shouldn't be asking for more personal information than that.
Mr. Paget, what about if a store, a department store, or a specialty store calls you and says, we have this great offer. In the next 10 minutes, if you purchase this item, we'll toss in another one for free. If it sounds too good to be true, can you address that during this holiday season when A, we're trying to budget our money, but then B, we're thinking, wow, I can get something for Troy and for Matthew at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times scammers, they'll use methods such as phishing, where they'll pretend to be somebody.
On a line and you throw it out to catch a snapper?
Right, phishing with a PH.
Oh, okay. If you can explain that.
Yeah, they'll send soliciting emails saying, if you send us this, and this, we'll give you this. For the most part, if you're being solicited by someone that you're not familiar with, look at it for what it is. If it's a deal that appears to be too good to be true, there's a really good chance that it is too good to be true. And the best way to protect ourselves is to just don't overlook that little voice in your head saying, hey, maybe we should check into this. Give it some time. Don't make spur of the moment decisions when it comes to spending your hard-earned money or giving out personal details about yourself.
And one of the things that the Federal Trade Commission has done is they also put together some tips for happy holiday shopping. And as you may have heard, Mr. Troy Schuster did mention the Federal Trade Commission. That is actually the national department within the federal government that regulates these scams. That's a number you can call. But if you do happen to get scammed locally, please contact the Virgin Islands Police Department as well as the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs. And we'll give you those numbers at the end of this show. That way you don't have to get disrupted. But quite frankly, when you're shopping this holiday, make a list and a budget. That way, when that person calls you with that fantastic offer, you already know what you're looking for and what you're seeking, and you don't get connived into thinking, wow, I'm going to get this great deal. Do your research. Tell the person who calls you, thank you, Mr. So and so or Mrs. So and so, for calling me. Give me the specs, the model number, and I'm going to go review it. And can you give me a number so I can call you back? If they're pressuring you into making that immediate purchase and using whatever credit card is at your disposal, 9 times out of 10, it's a scam artist that's just trying to catch you because they're catching you unguarded at the spur of the moment. Look for the best deals. Quite frankly, you may think, wow, I'm shopping at this major retailer online. Come, go around, drive around your neighborhood, whether Charlotte Amalie, Red Hook, Fortuna, Christiansted, Fredericksted, Gallows Bay, Sunny Isles. Look around. You'd be surprised at what you may see. Chances are the item that you're looking for was purchased prior to a shipping delay, prior to a labor shortage, and that item is actually more affordable versus what it costs now. COVID-19 has created a shortage, a shipping shortage, a labor shortage, a material shortage. So yes, in fact, it's been recorded, it's been viewed from the national headlines all the way through the news that inflation is on the uptick, starting with fuel all the way down to the price of an item that would normally go under the Christmas tree. So shop wisely and keep track of your purchases also. Why? You may start ordering items online, you may purchase items locally, and you forget what you're expecting. So you may have an
Mhm.
unsuspecting friendly neighbor or a friendly person walking through your neighborhood that decides, wow, there's 5 boxes sitting out there that was delivered by FedEx. If I take one, they won't notice. So keep track of your purchases. And of course, when you're actually purchasing an item for someone, it's the holiday, please give gifts, not personal information. Protect yourself online when you're shopping and only use secure websites with an HTTPS address. All right? Do not get distracted by those ads that pop up on Facebook. Many times, those items that pop up on Facebooks are not credible vendors. Sometimes they're vendors who appear in the middle of the night. They set up a site, you order an item, and you never receive that item.
Yeah, and if I could touch on
Oh,
that a
sure,
little
Mr.
bit.
Paget.
One of the things to watch out for is a lot of times these scammers will spoof other websites, or they'll use the name Walmart dash whatever
Mhm.
dot com, and if it's not coming from Walmart.com, they'll never put a dash or a hyphen or whatever in the name and then solicit information from you. And just to touch on one of the things that the commissioner said about packages, don't leave them outside on your doorstep. If you can't be home, find a secure spot that they can either hide behind a chair or just something to conceal that from the street side. And if you're going to the post office and you pick up, I know being in the Virgin Islands, it's feast or famine. You don't have anything for 3 weeks, and then everything shows up in your post office. Don't leave packages on your car seat if you have to run into the store really quick. Cover them with a blanket, put them in the back, just somewhere where it's concealed, so there's no temptation for someone to try and break into your vehicle and take those packages out.
And Mr. Paget, can you redefine that fancy word you use, spoof? Many persons who are listening to us they're pretty tech savvy, but the word spoof scared me. It almost sounds like Halloween that just passed. So explain what spoof means when they're online shopping, either on their phone or on their iPad. I'm sorry, or their digital device.
Yeah, absolutely. So what scammers will do is they can spoof anything from a website to a phone number. You may receive a phone number from somewhere that checks out that looks like it's an actual phone number for a company that you may have shopped with, and it's really just a scammer coming in trying to get in the back door to get your private information. One thing to remember is typically with those incidents, the scammer will demand payment by gift card, or they'll represent themselves as being an official agent with the IRS, or say that you have an arrest warrant. One thing to understand is the IRS will never call you and demand that you pay back taxes with a gift card. So typically, when something like that happens, it's hard to track down and find these individuals after the fact. But if you just hang up on them and call your local police department and report that activity, if it's something with the IRS, they'll be communicating with you via USPS, not over the phone.
And as it relates to holiday shopping, one of the things that I'd like to share with the listening audience is COVID-19 is still here. So we still are recommending that you exercise safe COVID-19 practices such as social distancing, wearing your mask. So what I've noticed is a proliferation of a number of websites that are popping up selling masks, and not the classic surgical mask, but now they're getting fancy. You have leopard prints, you have um, pastel colors. Please ensure that these masks are actually functional to save your life and not
Mhm.
fashionistic, to look fancy and look great on New Year's Eve. That's one thing that, and if you're unsure, you can always contact your local medical provider or, quite frankly, the Federal Trade Commission to inquire if that item is actually, valid or not, because that's one of the things I want you to be cognizant of as we go into the holidays. I noticed that because I myself was thinking, wow, I can, buy my family some fancy masks to get rid of the regular surgical mask. And so that's something else for you to look out as it relates to holiday shopping.
You know, talking about phishing again, that phishing with the PHI instead of an F. Um, one thing that I like to remind our audience is that when you see an email coming in from Chase Bank or from Apple Corporation and so forth, click on that name and look at the email address. And that alone will tell you a whole lot because they'll have some kind of wacky email address that's really not from Chase Bank or really not from Apple.com. And and also look at the subject line, look at the spelling, look at the body of the email, how it's written, the grammar, the spelling, all of those things will clearly, but especially that email address that it's coming from will tell you so clearly. And oftentimes we don't take time to click on that name to see the email address that's hidden behind of that name. So if any more tips on this email phishing, please let us know because we all get ton loads of these kinds of emails every day.
Sure. One of the things, audience, that I want to share with you is that Mr. Troy Dishabert Schuster did indicate to check the email address and to check things around that particular website. Quite frankly, if you do not recognize the website, don't even click on it. Just delete it because sometimes the second you click, information or a tool starts getting in, invading your computer and obtaining information from you. And sometimes it may even be a virus. So if you don't recognize it, if it sounds too good to be true, you've just been awarded, 50 shares to Apple Computer or claim your new 2023 car. As Mr. Paget indicated earlier, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. That I think that's the safest way to go.
Yeah,
Unless,
and if I could touch on something really quick, if you do receive an email and there's a chance that it could be legitimate, one thing to do instead of responding to or contacting them based on that, find the Chase Bank or the Amazon customer service number and you initiate contact with somebody that you know who you're calling. Don't rely on that responding email to be your only form of contact. These people, in most big companies, Amazon, any bank, they have entire fraud divisions dedicated to trying to weed out these people that go on these phishing expeditions to try and get your information. So initiating contact as a consumer is one sure way to determine that you're actually making contact with the business who you're intending to contact.
Yes, and maybe you all can comment a little bit on pyramid schemes. Um, I hear a lot of talk here in the Virgin Islands about partner hands and susu and all of these kinds of things where people are saving money toward their Christmas shopping. And it seems like some of these go on for a while, but yet I've heard of a lot of horror stories about them. Do you all have any information on that? Or what are your thoughts on these kinds of pyramid schemes that we see going on around here?
Yeah, that's a good point because the sad part is a lot of these network marketing opportunities appeal to younger generations, online based shopping. Um, but it's important to understand that if you're being recruited to sell a product in order to receive a discount on that product, you have to understand what it is that you're passing on. And in a lot of instances, it might seem perfectly legitimate, um, but there is an underlying element to the more fingers that you have going into the cookie jar, the more information there, or the more opportunity is for your information to get into the hands of somebody that you might not trust or necessarily want with your information.
And that's the fancy pyramid scheme that Mr. Dishavir Schuster is referring to. But locally, he as well as the other persons who are listening are aware that, you know, parents, friends of parents, on a certain day of the week, everyone's going around collecting a certain amount, and based on the number of people in it, it goes around and eventually comes up to you. It's a savings plan. So if you're involved in a savings, I don't want to call it scam, a saving vehicle for saving money that's not provided by a bank or a licensed financial institution, you better pray and hope that the persons you're participating with are your friends for life. Because if someone decides to run away with the hand, that person is taking your hand and it's literally not insured. So that is what Mr. Schuster is alluding to, where you have four persons and you collect $100 from each person. So you have $400 on week one. Mr. Schuster gets the $400, but we've provided the income, and then on week two it goes to Matthew Pageant, and just keeps going around and around. And that's what he's referring to. It's a traditional form of saving money, but just be careful, because sometimes when you get involved with someone who now ups the ante and says, you know, instead of you getting your hand, you actually get double your hand, but then you need to pick up two more folks. The persons on the front end receiving, they're going to get their money, but if you're coming in on the tail end, chances are you're not going to get anything. And it's the holidays. The government of the Virgin Islands, between the 34th legislature, the members of the 34th legislature, led by the Senate President as well as Governor Bryan, just issued 8% rebate, an 8% return of your restoration of your salary that was taken from you, to save the government back in 2011 and 12. So people are aware that there's some cash circulating in this economy right now. And speaking about cash, it's the holidays. I'm calling on the listening audience and the viewing audience and all the members of ARP to help the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs with an initiative that was supposed to begin on or about April of 2020, but because of the COVID-19, we stood down. All businesses in the United States Virgin Islands, including the government, who has a gross income greater than $50,000 a year, are required to accept more than one form of payment. They have to actually accept at least two forms of payment: cash, and the second one can either be a credit card or a debit card. Once again, all businesses in the United States Virgin Islands who are receiving in excess of $50,000 per year are required to accept two forms of payment, at least cash and or a debit or credit card. If you, for whatever reason, are unable to provide this service to a customer for greater than 10 days, you need to report it to the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs, because the fine for the first offense is $1,000. And I know we're going to be shopping this coming season. It's here now. So if you see any businesses, and we educate before we regulate. Once again, I repeat, DLCA will educate before we regulate. If you see businesses with signs that say cash only, please report it to the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs so that we can investigate it. The purpose of this particular law was to ensure that businesses pay their fair share of taxes, but also to discourage customers from walking around with large sums of cash. And I have to correct myself. This bill was passed in the 33rd legislature, but it just took effect with the 34th legislature in terms of the year. So, um, Troy, this is great for your constituents because when you're retired, why are you walking around with large sums of cash? Chances are you have your credit card or your debit card, and it's much safer too, so that a hitman won't come out and get you. So please, with your membership, I'm asking and pleading that you help us monitor this situation, because it's in the same vein that we are quote unquote trying to assist you with safe holiday shopping tips. This is another way to keep you safe, because that way you're not walking around with cash to purchase your holiday tips, your holiday goods rather.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up because there's still a lot of businesses that are not compliant. I mean, I visited a gas station here on St. Croix a couple
Correct.
of days ago, and they have a sign saying no credit cards. And I asked them,
Correct.
will you take debit cards? And they said no, cash.
Correct.
And
So
yeah,
this is your first, not your first, but this is one of the many opportunities that ARP is providing to DLCA to educate the community before we regulate, but also to ensure that your constituents, your members of the ARP are safe, because you shouldn't have to walk around with cash to do normal nominal transactions. Now you're permitted to put a minimum. You can put up a sign that says $10 minimum for the credit card or the debit card, but that has to be clearly posted. So please stay safe this holiday. I know it's a great time of the year when we're happy and jolly, and sometimes we let our guard up. But it's also a time, thanks to ARP, that we're ensuring that you are not only safe at home, but safe when you're shopping and doing your gathering of presents for your loved ones, whether online or in person. But if I can at least do something for the United States Virgin Islands, is please shop locally, support your local businesses. They're here for you even when the mail is slow or the mail cannot get to you, whether you're using a courier service or the United States Postal Service.
well, we have just about a minute left, and before I give you an opportunity to tell our audience how they can report to Licensing and Consumer Affairs, I just want to remind everybody that when you use credit cards, you have more consumer protections
Right.
than even with a debit card. So it's always a great idea to use a credit card and just manage your credit cards accordingly and experience those consumer protections that a credit card affords.
And Troy, on top of that, PayPal is another great way to pay. Because that even protects you even further, because then the merchant doesn't get any of that information.
True. Excellent idea. And so how can people file reports to the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs in our last 30 seconds?
Sure. So under Mr. Paget's direction, he has persons in St. Thomas and St. Croix. And please feel free, Mr. Paget, if you want me to take it away, I can take it away. On the island of St. Croix, we have two persons. We have Miss Venetia Husford as well as Miss Dido O'Reilly. And on St. Thomas, we have Miss Natasha Smith. Those persons are actually available to take reports, but preferably, because we're still in COVID-19, go to our website, www.dlca.vi.gov, and just hit on the consumer link, and you will actually get an application that you can complete, and we will get it and we will contact you. If you have any other issues relative to the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs, whether it is a complaint or a compliment, we accept both because we are not perfect. Please call my office, the Office of the Commissioner, directly at 340-725-5129. And if there are any members of the ARP who actually have a business license and you have not yet renewed it, and you do not want to come to our office or visit us online because you feel that you've accumulated numerous penalties, December 31st, 2021 is the last day for you to request a waiver in writing via the Office of the Commissioner. So please come into compliance. If you see a business is only accepting cash, they're supposed to accept two forms of payment. Please contact us. And if you've gotten scammed, hopefully you haven't, because you've paid close attention to Mr. Troy DeChabert Schuster and the ARP and the tips we provided to ensure that you have a safe, happy holiday season. Happy holidays from DLCA if I don't see you again until next year. And thank you, Team DLCA, for ensuring that the community of the United States Virgin Islands stays safe.
Thank